if you it is now. Welcome to the Board of Behavioral Sciences. It is May 11th, 2017. We are at the DoubleTree Suites at 2085 Harbor Boulevard, Anaheim, California. And it is 8:36 a.m. Can we please call for a quorum?
Good morning. Samara Ashley.
Here.
Dr. Leah Brew.
Here.
Renee Launer.
Here.
Dr. Christine Wittlisbach.
Here.
Deborah Brown.
Here.
Patricia Locke-Dawson.
Here.
Betty Conley.
Here.
Dr. Peter Chu.
Here.
Christina Wong.
Here.
Sarita Kohli.
Here.
Max Disposti is not present at this time. And
Karen, for the record, could you just say aye so we know you're here?
Karen Pines. Thank you. We have a quorum.
Okay, at this time, I am going to now turn the hearing process over to the Honorable Teresa Brell. Welcome.
Thank you. Is my mic on? I just want to make sure. All right. I'm Administrative Law Judge Teresa Brell. I'm going to be conducting the hearings today on the petitions. And we're going to do the hearings in the order that they appear on the board's agenda. So the first person would be Surubi Asapayan. Ma'am, you can come on up and sit at the table right here and set up anything you need to set up. And while she's doing that, I just wanted to remind everyone that when we have the hearings today, they're going to be transcribed by a court reporter. So it's really important that everyone wait till other people stop speaking before you start to speak, and try not to speak too quickly. If the court reporter has if you all talk at the same time, she can't take it down. Or if you interrupt someone, it's hard for the court reporter, and she might indicate to me that we need to slow everybody down. I try to talk nice and slow so that she doesn't have problems, but I try to remind everyone of this, and I might remind you again if it starts to happen, because sometimes we forget that she's in the room with us. Now, are the parties ready to proceed? Ms., how do you say your name?
Surbui Ovsepian.
Obsepian?
Is the mic?
Okay.
Ovsepian.
Osepian. All right. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Messer, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor.
All right, let's go on the record. The record is now open in the matter of the petition to modify terms of probation by Suripio Osepian. It's the Office of Administrative Hearings, case number 2017-040422. It is being heard by the Board of Behavioral Sciences. It's the agency's case number AP 2012-945. This hearing is being held on May 11 of 2017 in Anaheim, California. I am Administrative Law Judge Teresa Brell of the Office of Administrative Hearings. I will be conducting the hearing. The board will be making the decision in closed session after all of the hearings. Why don't we have the appearances by the parties first for the Attorney General's office?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chairperson and members of the board. I'm Kevin W. Messer, representing the Attorney General's office.
And then for the petitioner, why don't you state your name?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Surbui Ovsepian.
All right. Now, Ms. Obsepian, let me tell you a little bit about the procedure for today. Today, what is happening is the board is considering your petition, and as I understand it, you want to remove fluid testing and weekly psychotherapy from your probation. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. This is what will happen today. Mr. Messer is going to present documents and discuss the case a little bit with us. Then it will be your turn to talk, and I will put you under oath, and then I will allow you to make your presentation to the board. After you're done with that, then Mr. Messer will be given a chance to question you. After he's done questioning you, then the board will be given a chance to ask you questions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the room, and I think I'm going to start with the left side of the room where I think Ms. Pines is sitting, and we'll go through and see if any of the board members have any questions of you. Then I'm going to allow Mr. Messer and you to make additional comments if you have any that might raise some more questions with the board members, and they're going to be allowed to ask you more questions. Sometimes I ask follow-up clarification questions, because usually it's all covered by the board and the Deputy Attorney General. Now, after all the evidence has been presented, then the case will be submitted. The board is going to consider your petition in closed session, and then you will receive a written decision in the mail. All right, do you have any questions about the procedure?
No,
All right, Mr. Messer, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay.
Just a brief statement to orient the board members to the case. This petition was filed on March 1st, 2017, requesting the elimination of random biological fluid testing. The petitioner was convicted of DUI on September 15, 2010, stemming from arrest after an auto collision on May 27, 2010. Her blood alcohol content at the time was 0.18% and then 0.17%. She entered into a stipulated settlement effective November 25th, 2013, which the terms of the settlement were 5 years probation. That probation is scheduled to terminate November 25th, 2018, approximately a year and a half from now. At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to admit documents.
Okay. I've got the binder open to where your
Okay,
documents are.
Your Honor, I have the documents I've split into five groups. Document 1, or I should say Exhibit 1 marked for identification as Exhibit 1 is the petition for modification of probation with attachments, and that's 8 pages total.
All right, so I'm marking as Exhibit 1 the petition for reinstatement, modification of petition. It's 8 pages, so it goes from AGO 1 through AGO 8. And you want to offer that at this point?
I would, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Ovesian, do you have any objection to me receiving Exhibit 1?
no, ma'am.
All right.
Do you need a
wanna-
copy of the exhibits?
Sure. Yes, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Your Honor, I've marked for identification, Exhibit 2 is the stipulated settlement disciplinary order dated October 25th, 2013. That's 25 pages total.
Okay.
Is AGO 009 to 033.
All right.
I ask that that be entered into evidence.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm now marking as Exhibit 2, the stipulation and disciplinary order dated October 25 of 2013. It's AGO 9 through AGO 33. That's been marked as Exhibit 2. Now, Ms. Obsessian, I didn't enter Exhibit 1 yet because I saw that you were going to look at the records. Do you have any objection to me admitting Exhibit 1?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Exhibit 1 is received, and do you have any objection to me receiving Exhibit 2?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Your Honor, marked for identification is Exhibit 3, psychotherapy quarterly reports, 8 pages total. AGO numbers 034 to 041. I'd ask that those be entered into evidence.
Okay, I'm now marking as Exhibit 3 the psychotherapy quarterly reports. They are 8 pages. They are Bates numbered AGO 34 through 41. Ms. Obsessian, any objection to me receiving Exhibit 3?
No, ma'am.
Exhibit 3 is received.
Your Honor, marked for identification and notice as Exhibit 4, notice of hearing dated April 10th, 2017. That's 1 page. AGO Exhibit 042.
Okay, I'm now
Ask that that
marking
be
as,
entered in.
I'm sorry, I spoke over
I
you.
ask that that would be entered into evidence.
Okay, thank you. Exhibit 4 is being marked for identification. It's the notice of hearing, Bates numbered AGO 42. Ms. Obsessian, do you have any objection to Exhibit 4 being received?
No, ma'am.
Exhibit 4 is received.
Sorry to interrupt for a second. The rules need to be either the microphone.
Oh, 'cause-
Or the voice a little higher.
All right, because I was looking at the document, sorry. Next, Mr. Messer?
Thank you, Your Honor. Marked for identification is Exhibit 5, the license history and certification of petitioner. That's 2 pages. AGO exhibits numbers 043 to 044. I'd ask that that be entered into evidence as Exhibit 5.
Okay, I'm now marking as Exhibit 5, the license history. It's 2 pages, AGO 43 through 44. Ms. Obsessian, any objection to me receiving Exhibit 5?
No, ma'am.
Exhibit 5 is received. Mr. Messer, I had one question that maybe you can clarify for the board. You were talking about when the probation completes. Did you say it was in 2018? Because I think there might be a tolling that occurred.
That may be correct, Your Honor. I simply took the date that the probation went into effect and added 5 years, so I did not confirm the actual end date of that. I defer to the probation monitor on that issue.
Maybe we can discuss that with Ms. Obsessian when it's her turn to speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, anything else you wanted to add, sir, before Ms. Obsessian is allowed to speak?
No, Your Honor, I have no further evidence.
Okay, Ms. Obsessian, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give today will be the truth under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California?
I do.
All right, now Ms. Obsessian, could you state and spell your full name?
Serbui Ovsepian, S-R-B-U-I. Last name is O-V-S-E-P-Y-A-N.
All right, Ms. Obsessian, what would you like to tell the board?
Okay. I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. First of all, I wanted to thank you guys, thank everybody here for the opportunity to be able to present my case. If I get a little emotional and my voice shakes a little bit, please excuse that. I am here with the hope to be able to show the board that I have, over the past couple of years, had a drastic change in my life. The circumstances of the probation and the restrictions on my license were based on a DUI. And that was due to alcoholism. And I really struggled with that for a significant period in my life. And because of the board's restrictions, really, there was a lot of period of time where I was under control or thought there was a lot of control that I had. I was able to get the help that I needed. So there was, Your Honor, you're correct, there was a tolling period where I first was complying with the board, but I noticed that I was really struggling, and I was not able to stop drinking on my own accord. And so in 2014, I voluntarily went into a 30-day inpatient treatment center. And at that point, I notified my probation analyst, Ms. Julie McAuliffe, that I would be doing that. And so I told my probation. I went into a 30-day inpatient treatment center in 2014. I completed that successfully. I did 4 months of outpatient after that. And so I was not working during that time period. I was staying in a different area, just really focusing on my recovery. Today I've been sober for a little over 3 years. And it's not due to just the restrictions or the requirements of the board that I continue to do this. Recovery is the absolute most priority and primary purpose in my life right now. Without recovery, without the treatment, without my program, and I'm an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I continue to do a lot of things that are very much recovery-based. So just a few of the things that I can touch on, just to be able to kind of show the board of what my life consists of today. I go to about 2 to 3 AA meetings a week, and one of them is my home group, which is where I have a commitment. It's on a weekend, so I'm able to attend regularly. So I have a home group. I have a sponsor who I meet with regularly once a week without exception, and we continue to do that for a long-standing period of time. I have a sponsorship family, which is a bunch of women who pretty much are part of the same kind of group, and we meet once a month, and we go through the AA program. I'm sure some of you may be familiar with it from the outskirts of it. So we meet once a month. It's kind of a process group for us. In addition to that, I have a professional network of individuals that I meet with once a month. They're all clinicians, MFTs, or interns, and we meet at a recovery home. Most of them work in recovery, but they're all in recovery. So we meet once a month. We talk about different, the owner of the home usually brings in somebody to do some kind of a speaker thing, and then we have another process group. A lot of it is focused on what we do to take care of ourselves, how we maintain our sobriety, and in the work that we do, and continue to be aware of that kind of stuff. The main reason that I'm here, the primary reason that I'm here, I don't have any objections to therapy. As a therapist, I am a strong advocate for therapy for as long as it needs a lifelong process. Nor do I have any objections to the biological fluid testing. Truly, I've been sober. I don't have any issues with that, and I have a really strong foundation. But the primary reason why I did ask for this is because it has significantly, it's been a financial hardship for me to continue to do the testing, the therapy, and a little bit of a time constraint. With my work hours, with recovery-based stuff that I do on a weekly basis, and meeting with my sponsor, meeting in the groups. One of the things that we talk a lot about, and in addition, one of the things that's really big in the program is service work. And so I volunteer once a month with a Chilo Foundation. It's just another member of, the sober member of the community put together a group, and we just go out to Skid Row once a month at the last Sunday of the month, and about 6 hours we put together food donations. And so service work is something that is very, very big. We pride ourselves on doing stuff to be able to give back, and whether that's working with another alcoholic in the program or just being able to give back into our general population. That's one of the things that I have not been able to do regularly is, to sponsor and to do that. And a little bit of it has been because, when I have to wake up in the morning and check the website to see if I'm getting called to drug test today, it makes it a little bit difficult for me to be able to have a consistent weekly schedule. With that being said, for the past year and a few months, I have missed only one biological fluid testing, and I was at the ER. I injured my back really badly, and I notified my probation analyst right away of that, and she, excused that, and I provided the documentation, medical notes of that. With exception to a few illnesses and vacations, I have been very consistent in my therapy. And so I hope that I'm able to show that I have a really strong basis in my recovery, and as long as I continue to do the things that I intend to do and that I'm continuing to do today, I hope to be able to express that I can safely practice without the restrictions that were implemented.
Is there
Thank you.
anything else you'd like to add?
I can't think of at this moment.
All right,
Your Honor.
Mr. Messer, any questions you have for her?
Just a few, Your Honor. Good morning. Congratulations on 3 years of sobriety. That's a great achievement. You mentioned the tolling of the probation. How much probation do you have remaining?
I believe it would end in 2020.
Okay, so, and you were initially given 5 years of probation?
Correct.
So, rough estimate, you've completed 2 of the 5 years of the probation?
Correct.
Have you ever received any notices of violation from your probation monitor?
Yes, that was when I first started to comply with the requirements. That was back in 2013, I believe. And I missed more frequent drug testing at that time. And part of the situation was I still thought that I had everything under control and that I was still able to control and limit drinking or be able to stop with when the certain requirements came on. And then I had the stipulations and I had to drug test, and I was finding that I was unable to make it because I was not able to stop drinking. And so it was for that reason that I decided to check myself into an inpatient treatment center.
So that was all before the tolling?
Correct.
Have you received any notices of violation since the probation was tolled?
No.
And how many notices of violation did you receive before your probation was tolled?
I can't remember offhand. I would have to say 2, maybe 3.
And then since the tolling of the probation, you said you missed one test and that you provide documentation for that. Did you receive
Yes.
a notice of violation for that?
No, no.
Since your arrest and subsequent conviction for the DUI, have you ever been arrested or convicted since?
No, I haven't gotten even a parking ticket in the past 7 years.
You mentioned AA, and you're still actively involved in AA today.
Yes, yes.
What step are you currently
I am currently on the repeat, recycle, rinse, the steps 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm sorry, 10, 11, and 12. So it's a nightly inventory, which I write out every single night. That's step 10. We make amends where we have wronged or have done something that is out of character. Step 11 every morning is a conscious contact with a higher power, and that includes meditation, so I do that every morning. And then step 12 is the giving back the message, and which is typically in sponsorship. So I've now made myself available to be a sponsor, but I have not taken on any new sponsees at this moment. So it's kind of I have completed all of my steps, and I'm doing them on a daily basis.
And how many times a week do you attend meetings?
2 to 3 times. The 2 are pretty consistent. One of them, it just depends on my weekly schedule.
Do you keep a logbook?
You know, I do not. I do not. That is the one thing I didn't think to do.
So you mentioned that your main reason for petitioning the board here today is the cost and also the imposition of the therapy and the testing impacts your schedule. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What assurances, or how can you explain to the board that you haven't even completed half your probation yet, why they would be willing to take the chance to
Right.
stop the testing, stop the therapy? Why do you think that's a good idea for them to do that?
Yeah, understandably so. I understand the board's purpose is, for the protection of the people and the people that I work with. The only assurances that I can give is that I truly practice rigorous honesty in every day of my life. I would not be here, I would not be sitting in front of you guys today if I thought that there was a doubt in my mind that tomorrow or the next day or a month from now that I would be going out or that I had any shaky foundation. I truly, strongly believe that I'm on strong footing, and, if you ask my sponsor, my grand sponsor, the people in my recovery, everybody in my life today, with the exception of my professional employees or coworkers, are in recovery. That includes my personal relationship, that includes actually family members that are in recovery, my group of friends that I made over the past 3 years that I stay close with and speak to on a daily basis are in recovery. So recovery comes first before anything does in my life. And that's not just because of the board's restrictions. This is because the way of my life has improved so drastically over the past couple of years that I would be a fool to do anything but what I have been doing for the past 3 years. And I really, truly don't intend to continue this way.
By your best estimate, what is the testing, the biological testing costing you per month?
So I would say the testing and the therapy together is about $600 to $800 a month.
And rough estimate, how much do you make, or do you earn a month through your employment?
I earn about $5,200 a month.
So a little over $5,000?
Uh-huh.
And is that your only, where does that income come from?
Employment, my work.
Do you have any other sources of income?
I do not, no.
So is it safe to say that almost about 20% of your monthly income goes towards complying with the probation term?
Yes, a little bit, definitely. And just with that, part of the program and part of making the amends is obviously going back and making any retributions to anything, whether it's creditors, financial institutions, anything that I have accrued over the past years of, and so one of the biggest things is obviously my student loans, and that's a huge thing, and so I've been paying that back every month on the month. That's been a significant difficulty for me. When I went back into work and untold my probation, I moved in. I left the city that I was in during my recovery. I had to move back in with my sister because I really was unable to, with the amount that I was making and the rent costs and my living costs, unable to kind of live on my own at this past year. And it's been nice. I've been living with my sister and my 4-year-old niece and helping her out with that. And we've been sharing the cost, but my mom was also laid off for a couple of years, so we both contribute to my mom on a monthly basis. So it's just been with paying back everything, including some collections on a monthly basis. I've made payment plans with everything, with my student loans, with the costs, and with this, it's been a significant financial hardship for me to continue this on a month-to-month basis.
Now, your stipulated settlement required a little over $2,000 in cost recovery and then a reimbursement cost of $1,200 per year. Have you been paying those?
Yes, absolutely, and that's part of the reason why I didn't ask for early termination, which I realize is too early for that anyways, but is because I have not paid those off, and I have payment plans. I have been paying those off every single month on the month by or before the 10th of the month for both separate requirements.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions at this time.
All right. Now I'm going to turn over questioning to the board. And first, Ms. Pines, do you have any questions?
Yes. Turning it on, right? Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. I just wondered, could you tell us a bit about the clients that you see, what work you're doing?
Sure, absolutely. My work is actually in the regional center system, so I work with individuals with developmental disabilities, primarily individuals with autism, cerebral palsy, intellectual disabilities, Down syndrome. I also work with individuals with what we consider dual diagnosis, not in the substance abuse, but with developmental as well as mental health diagnosis of depression, anxiety, that sort of thing. And it's really more of an adaptive in therapy type services because we really provide, our mission for the agency is to provide services for individuals with a disability to be able to lead as independent life in the community as possible.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Coley, do you have any questions?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in. I was wondering at what age did you start to drink?
I'm Armenian. Alcohol is a big part of the culture at a very young age. So I think definitely by my 15th birthday, I was drinking already pretty consistently. But not during weeks. I, again, was a very, what is termed kind of a functioning alcoholic and was very able to maintain the straight A's, go into college, grad school, do all that without much difficulty. In fact, there was no difficulty that I could see. It was mostly on weekends, but it was after grad school, really, and some circumstances. I lost a partner following a heart surgery. He passed away in 2010, and so some circumstances really tipped the scale for me. Not that those were the result of it, but it was kind of a steady progression of the disease.
Okay. So do you anticipate drinking again?
Absolutely not. No. No.
Thank you.
Dr. Wong?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, your DUI situation happened in 2010, and your disciplined, by the board on 2013, and then you told, after 6 months. So I am wondering, after the collision, did you stop drinking?
No. No, I did not. It was after the collision. In fact, things probably got a little worse for me during those couple of periods from 2010 to 2013. Things progressed really rapidly for me in my drinking because I wasn't working. I totaled my car. I no longer had a car, so I didn't have to worry about drinking and driving was my thought process at the time. So I was unemployed, and I was spending most of my days drinking for a period of time until I got a job again. And then I was able to stop drinking while I was going to work, but I would come home and I would continue to drink. And so when the probation stipulations, when I agreed to the settlement and agreed that I would stop drinking, I did. I white-knuckled it for a good, month or so. and then I started drinking again, and that was the first time in my life that I had to concede to the fact that I could not stop on my own. And so I would like to sit here and say that right after that, I learned my lesson, and unfortunately, it took treatment for me really, and a drastic and entire change of the circumstances in my life to stop drinking.
So tell me a little bit about your thought process, because, when you're on probation, you know that you have to call in every day, and there's a chance that, you might be drug tested.
Right.
So, so you couldn't stop drinking. So what were you, explain, what went on during that, that 6 months?
Sure. A lot of denial. A lot of denial. It was every morning I would wake up, and if I wasn't called to test, then that was a good day. I would not drink that day. I tried to do what I could to keep myself busy. I went to one AA meeting during that time period, and then I came home and started drinking again. And I really, really struggled. So it was every night. Tonight's the last night. Tomorrow morning is going to be a new day. Tomorrow's going to be different. I can control it tomorrow. And I just found that I could not. Despite my hardest efforts, I could not. And at that time, I had started working again, and I, just as I was missing my drug testing, I was missing work, as I was sick frequently. And so I got to a point right in 2013, I got to a point where I just realized I was going to lose everything that I had worked so hard for my entire career, which meant everything to me, and my license was going to be lost. And so I went into work that day. Unfortunately, I was working and I had good insurance coverage, and I was able to go in and just sit down and tell them I need medical leave and I need to leave. So my thought process was very messed up, for lack of better words.
So compared to 2 years ago, that 2 years when you told, for the intensive treatment and stuff, and
Right.
and what is different now?
Absolutely everything. So much is different in my life today. I've always been I'm Christian. I've always had a strong religious kind of faith-based, but I'm going back into the program, really doing the program of AA. I have such a strong foundation with a higher power, not so much of a religious sense, but in a spiritual sense. Everything I do is based around doing, acting, being of service to other people. It's to, anytime I have a problem, I sit down, I call a sponsor, I talk to people, I write about it all the time. There's a lot of tools that I have in my, on a daily basis that I'm able to just work out. I've gone through, significant issues since I've been sober, family issues, financial stressors, loss of relationships. And each one of them that would have previously put me out, I've been able to walk through because I have such a strong support system. I talk about it, I share about it, and then we just continue to do. So really my entire thought process has changed. And a lot of what we use in AA is very similar to a lot of the CBT techniques. I mean, it's just not called that. It's called very different things. So it's very helpful for me to kind of recognize that. So even when I'm meeting with my sponsor and she's telling me things, I'm like, oh, I know what that is, but it's just called something a little different. So I really, I have a notebook with my daily inventory, and it's something that I do to keep track of what my behaviors are. Where do I owe an apology? Where do I need to talk to somebody about it? And we write this down. It's a 13-question thing. I've been doing this for about 6 months now, and you start to see patterns of behavior. You start to see where I can make changes, and it's the little things like that that have really changed who I am. And people see it. People see it. Friends, family who see me are able to recognize some of the changes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Dr. Chu?
Thank you, Your Honor. Is this on? Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for coming here, and congratulations. I don't have too many questions. You answered most of my questions, actually. Well, what is your sobriety date again?
March 21, 2014.
Okay. And so from what you have said, so you're well aware of the trigger, what makes you drink in the past, so I'm not going to go into that. It seems like you have a pretty good support system, you know how to do relapse prevention.
Yes.
It's interesting, your therapist did recommend to terminate the therapy. Are you still going to see her on an as-needed basis, or how do you feel about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So my therapist and I have a really good relationship, and I am very, again, grateful for my therapist. And she, she's a little different, so she's not too much into the program AA stuff. So it's a lot of different stuff that we discuss with her, and she's very supportive. Sees the things. In fact, from the year and some months ago that I started with her to where we are now. I think she sees a lot of difference in me and supports the termination with the understanding that at any given time I can call her and she'll be available, and I can go back to seeing her. And I'm not opposed to that at all. It comes back to a little bit of the circumstances that I'm in financially that is really tough for me right now, but I intend to and hope to be able to continue. I mean, I truly, truly believe therapy should be something that people go to for as long as needed, lifetime, on and off, and I intend to use her indefinitely. Yeah.
So, thank you. Is there any particular issue you still feel like you need to work on, or for now you feel like everything is pretty okay?
There's always issues. It's a lifelong, there's obviously a lot of stuff that I can continue to work on every day, every week something comes up. Again, because I have such a strong support system in all the other aspects of my life. The program, the AA program, is not just something for sobriety. It really is like a design for living. It kind of tackles every life problem that we have. And so I really have the immediate solution to me, but sometimes it helps to just have a therapist, one-on-one discussion, have a different perspective. I do a lot of meditation stuff. I'm a highly anxious person a lot of times, so she really helps me with that. I can't say that there's an immediate or pressing issue that I'm going through that I need to see her, but I also can't say that I don't have any issues. But there isn't any one major issue that we're currently working on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Ms. Connolly?
Good morning. It sounds like you've come a long way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question about approximately how often are you doing the fluid testing now? Are you having to go in and actually test?
It's pretty much 4 times a month. So there's times when it's just once every week. There's times when it's twice a week and then 1 week off. But it's pretty been consistent with 4 times a month.
Okay, that's all I need. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next I have Ms. Dawson. No questions? What about you, Chair Brown?
No, I have no questions.
Dr. Weisselbach?
Wittlisbach, no.
Wittlisbach, no questions. Ms., is it Lohner?
Yes, no questions, just thank you for coming in and, excuse me, congratulations.
Dr. Brew?
Just a couple of questions. First of all, I'm sorry for your loss, and I can see how a track record of using alcohol and then something huge like that happening, kind of pushing you over the edge. What if something huge and traumatic happens again? I mean, it's likely to happen again in your life. How? I know you have a different support system. You've talked about that extensively. But how is it different now than before?
Absolutely. That's one of the biggest things that, we talk about. But pretty much just kind of what you said, at that time, I had no support system. I really, I was able to handle a lot of life's circumstances, but when things got a little difficult, there was always the kind of escape of alcohol. So there was a lot of emotional stunting, a lot of lack of coping skills, a lot of things that I just wasn't able to manage on my own, and alcohol was always there. So when that happened, it was just the perfect, storm, really. Now it's entirely different for me now. Granted, I can't say that if, God forbid, if something like that happens tragically, I won't go through a very difficult time, because I most certainly will, but I I have coping skills today. I have the people that I can count on both of my hands that I know that would be there for me in an instant. I have a room full of strangers that I can walk into at any given time who would understand me based on what I'm going through, because they're sitting there with multiple years of sobriety who've gone through the losses, who can walk me through it. So I truly have a very different set of just tools of the support systems and ways to kind of tackle life, because life is going to happen. And that's one thing we say, we don't just get sober and life stops happening. It's, in fact, it kind of escalates sometimes even more, and you start to feel things a lot more. So, but that's what they try to do, is really just build us up and give us the necessary supports that we have to walk through whatever life kind of throws at us.
And another piece that I'm kind of looking for, and I don't know if this is something you worked on in your therapy, you're kind of giving us CBT sort of answers about structure and coping mechanisms, which are useful and important.
Sure.
But I'm wondering if in your therapy you've done deeper work than that.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I always say that alcoholism definitely is a genetic, there's some hereditary factors, but there's a lot of environmental factors as well that kind of go together, the dual switches that have to hit off. So I come from a significant line of alcoholism, domestic violence, so there's a lot of stuff that comes through in my childhood, and that has been a lot of the core of the work that we've done with my therapist. So a lot of family dynamics, current and past, a lot of childhood stuff, you know, really working through some of the traumas that, you know, I experienced as a child, and how my current relationships, not so much currently, but even up to a year ago, how those relationships were a lot of patterns and repeating some of the dynamics that I had grown up with or seen, and kind of identifying those. So yes, so a combination, and really the AA part of it is a lot more of CBT than therapy is. My therapist is not very CBT. She's much more the family systems, much more dynamic kind of therapy. And so absolutely, that's been a very important part of me to be able to work through as I've been sober and get through that.
Great, thanks for sharing that, because you are in your infancy of sobriety.
Yes.
But I don't want to
Yes.
minimize the
No.
3 years you've done so far, so that's really outstanding you've come this far.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Ashley.
I don't have any questions.
Now, before I turn it over to Mr. Messer, I had a couple things I just wanted to make sure I got the spellings on and
Sure.
clear. And you talked about a foundation where you said you go about once a month for 6 hours, but how do you, what is it
It's
called?
the Chilo Foundation, CHILO.
And then a couple times, and I'm not a therapist, so I don't know what you were talking about. You mentioned an acronym, CBT.
The cognitive behavioral therapy. My apologies.
Sometimes you're embarrassed to ask questions in a room of experts, but I thought I would ask.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Messer, do you have any more questions?
I do not, Your Honor, no follow-up questions.
Ms., I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce your name.
All right.
Obsepian. Anything else you wanted to add now that you've been asked all these questions?
You know, no, I can't think of anything. Again, just really, really, I'm very grateful for the opportunity just for you guys to be able to hear me out and give me a chance to kind of redeem myself a little bit. So I very much appreciate your time.
Now, anyone else on the board that had any follow-up questions they wanted to ask? And maybe if you raise your hand, I'll call out your name. And then you would be...
Ms. Wong.
Ms. Wong. Go ahead, Ms. Wong.
So, so how long have you been in therapy?
Well, I started right in the beginning of 2013, so I did that for about 4 months until I went into the inpatient. Since inpatient, so the 4 months and the 30 days inpatient, I had an individual therapist. And then I stopped for a period of time. So consistently, it's been since like March 1st of last year.
So it's about a little bit about 14 months?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Any other follow-up questions from board members? I don't see any hands. Mr. Messer, did you have any additional questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, anything else you'd like to add, ma'am?
No, Your Honor.
All right, well then, the case is submitted, and the board will make a determination in closed session, and then you'll receive a decision in writing from the board.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go off the record. Now you need to get a form from the court reporter.
Okay.
And that's something that explains how you can get a transcript of today's hearing. And then she's going to give, Mr. Messer, she's going to give you all of your forms at the end of our day today, all right?
Thank you very much.
Now, the next one's going to be brief, so maybe we can talk about that one and then take a break. Does that make sense? Sure. All right.
Absolutely.
And the next one has to do with Scott Richard Yetman, and it's my understanding he's not going to be here today, so I'm just going to go on the record when the court reporter's ready. Are you ready? All right. All right, let's go back on the record, or on the record. The record is now open in the petition to modify terms of probation of Scott Richard Yetman. And it's the Office of Administrative Hearings, case number 2017-040427. It's before the Board of Behavioral Sciences, the agency case number 2002014000413. Mr. Yetman had submitted a petition to modify terms of probation. He's not here today. Mr. Messer, did you want to make an appearance?
Yes, Your Honor. Kevin W. Messer, Attorney General's office.
And I understand that your office has had some communications with Mr. Yetman about what's going to happen with his petition?
Not my office, Your Honor, but I have been involved in the situation. I was contacted by the probation monitor for Mr. Yetman yesterday. She informed me that they had just received a notification of a positive drug test from him the day before, and asked me how to proceed. I asked the probation monitor to reach out to Mr. Yetman and ask him if he would agree to a continuance of the hearing of his petition based on the fact that the board still needs to do, or the probation monitor still needs to do due diligence on the positive test, notify him, have him provide any evidence, so on and so forth, and that it would be premature to hear his petition at this time based on that outstanding matter. The probation monitor reported back to me that she spoke to Mr. Yetman. Mr. Yetman agreed to the continuance and that his petition be heard at the next hearing. Based on that information, I would ask that you grant a continuance in the matter and it be taken up at the next board meeting.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to grant the continuance, and so is it your understanding he's going to resubmit his petition?
I don't know that, Your Honor. I don't know if the board would make that request to him, or they would just treat his petition as is and then just add the additional evidence, whatever comes out of the positive test.
But you're suggesting it be put on the calendar for the next meeting?
Yes, Your Honor, provided that the positive drug test issue is resolved.
I have no problem granting that continuance, and then the parties he can communicate with the board and figure out what will happen next.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Well, then let's go off the record on that. We're concluded on that matter, so off the record. Okay. Do people want to take a break? At this point, we have two more.
Three more.
We need a restroom break, I think. So what do you want, 10 minutes?
Sure.
15, 10? Mr. Cottle and Mr. Messer, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's go back on the record. The record is now open in the matter of the petition for early termination of probation of Wayne Marshall Cottle. It's Office of Administrative Hearings, case number 201704036. It's before the Board of Behavioral Sciences. A quorum of the board is present. It's agency case number AS 2013670. This hearing is being held on May 11 of 2017 in Anaheim, California. I am Administrative Law Judge Teresa Brell from the Office of Administrative Hearings. I will be conducting the hearing. The board will be deciding the petition in closed sessions. Now, why don't we have the appearances for the parties, first for the Attorney General,
Thank you, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Kevin W. Messer for the Attorney General's office.
and then for petitioner.
Wayne Marshall Cottle.
All right, Mr. Cottle, you were probably here when I talked to the last petitioner, but I'm going to go over with you again the procedure. What will happen here today is the board is hearing your petition for early termination of probation. That's what you're asking for, is that correct?
Yes.
And what will happen is, first, Mr. Messer will be allowed to present documents and make a statement. Then it will be your turn to speak. I will place you under oath, and then you'll be able to make your presentation to the board. Mr. Messer will be allowed to ask you questions when you're done with your presentation, and then I will go through and see if any of the board members have questions. Sometimes I might have some follow-up questions. A lot of times mine are clarification questions because I find that the Deputy Attorney General and the board members usually cover everything that I think might be important. And after all the questioning, I'm going to give you a chance to add anything if you think of something else, and then I let everyone ask questions until they run out of questions. Now, after the hearing is concluded, the case will be submitted, and then the board will meet in closed session to determine how to deal with your petition, and you will receive a written decision in the mail. So do you have any questions about the procedure?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Messer, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, just a brief summary of the case. The petitioner filed his petition September 7th, 2016, seeking early termination of probation. Petitioner was convicted May 6, 2013 for felony possession of methamphetamine. He entered into a stipulated settlement effective October 2nd, 2014, and received 3 years probation. I have several exhibits that I'd like to admit into evidence. I've marked and have to be admitted. Would you like to go through those at this time, Your Honor?
Yes, please.
Okay, Your Honor. What has been marked for identification as Exhibit 1 is petition for early termination of probation with attachments dated September 7th, 2016. That's 35 pages total, AGO Exhibits 001 to 035. I'd ask that that be entered into evidence as Exhibit 1.
All right, I'm marking as Exhibit 1, the petition for early termination of probation with attachments at the Bates numbers that Mr. Messer just called out. And Mr. Cottle, do you have any objections to us receiving Exhibit 1?
No.
Exhibit 1 is received.
What has been marked for identification as Exhibit 2 is the stipulated settlement and disciplinary order dated September 25th, 2015. That's 20 pages total, and that's AGO 036 to 055. I'd ask that that be entered into evidence as Exhibit 2.
All right, I'm now marking as Exhibit 2 the stipulated settlement and disciplinary order dated September 25 of 2015 with the AGO Bates numbers that Mr. Messer just stated. Mr. Cottle, do you have any objection to me receiving Exhibit 2?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 2 is received.
Your Honor, what has been marked for identification is Exhibit 3. It's a letter from the board dated September 2nd, 2014, one page. That's AGO Exhibit 056, just a letter notifying Mr. Cottle of the stipulated settlement and the effective date of that.
I'm marking as Exhibit 3 the one-page letter from the Board of Behavioral Sciences dated September 2nd of 2014. Mr. Cottle, any objection?
No, ma'am.
Exhibit 3 is received.
What has been marked for identification is Exhibit 4, violation notice from the board dated June 22nd, 2015, with the response from the petitioner, 3 pages total, AGO 057 to 059. I ask that that be entered into evidence as Exhibit 4.
I'm now marking as Exhibit 4 the violation notice from the Board of Behavioral Sciences dated June 22nd of 2015 with petitioner's response. It's 3 pages total. The Bates numbers are 57 through 59. Mr. Cottle, any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 4 is received.
What has been marked for identification is Exhibit 5, violation notice from the board dated November 4th, 2015, with the response from petitioner, 2 pages total, AGO 060 to 061. I'd ask that that be entered in evidence as Exhibit 5.
I am marking as Exhibit 5 the violation notice from the Board of Behavioral Science dated November 4 of 2015 with response from petitioner. It's AGO 60 through 61. Mr. Cottle, any objection?
No, ma'am.
Exhibit 5 is received.
What has been marked for identification as Exhibit 6, violation notice from the board dated June 20th, 2016, with response from petitioner, 2 pages total, AGO 062 to 063. I'd ask that it be entered in evidence as Exhibit 6.
Exhibit 6 is being marked for identification. It is the violation notice from the Board of Behavioral Sciences dated June 20 of 2016 with the petitioner's response, Bates numbered AGO 62 through 63. Any objection, Mr. Cottle?
No, ma'am.
Exhibit 6 is received.
Exhibit 7, marked for, or excuse me, what has been marked for identification as Exhibit 7, violation notice from the Board of Behavioral Science dated August 24th, 2015, with response from petitioner, 2 pages total, AGO 064 to 065. I'd ask that be entered in evidence as Exhibit 7.
I'm marking as Exhibit 7 the violation notice from the Board of Behavioral Sciences dated August 24 of 2015 with response from petitioner. It's AGO 64 through 65. Mr. Cottle, any objection?
No.
I didn't hear you.
No, ma'am.
All right. Exhibit 7 is received.
What has been marked for identification as Exhibit 8 is alcohol and drug treatment program meeting attendance, 2 pages total, AGO 066 to 067. I'd ask that this exhibit be entered in evidence as Exhibit 8.
I'm marking as Exhibit 8 the alcohol drug treatment program meeting attendance, 2 pages, AGO 66 to 67. Mr. Cottle, any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 8 is received.
What has been marked for identification as Exhibit 9, violation notice from the Board of Behavioral Sciences dated October 19th, 2016, with response from petitioner, 5 pages total. That's AGO 068 to 072. I'd ask that this be entered in evidence as Exhibit 9.
I'm now marking as Exhibit 9 the violation notice from the Board of Behavioral Science dated October 19, 2016, with the petitioner's response. It's AGO 68 through 60. I'm sorry, AGO 68 through 72. Mr. Cottle, any objection?
No, ma'am.
Exhibit 9 is received.
I'd ask that you mark for identification as Exhibit 10, the letter from the Board of Behavioral Sciences dated November 4th, 2015, 1 page total, AGO 073, and that be entered in evidence as Exhibit 10.
I'm now marking as Exhibit 10 the letter from the Board of Behavioral Sciences dated November 4 of 2015. It's 1 page. Mr. Cottle, any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 10 is received.
I'd ask that you mark for identification as Exhibit 11, the Chemical Dependency Recovery Program documentation, 14 pages total, AGO numbers 074 to 087, and that this be entered into evidence as Exhibit 11.
I'm now marking as Exhibit 11 the Chemical Dependency Program documentation. It's 14 pages. Dates numbered AGO 74 through 87. Mr. Cottle, do you have any objection?
No, ma'am.
Exhibit 11 is received.
Your Honor, I'd ask that you mark for identification as Exhibit 12, the license history certification, 2 pages total, AGO 088 to 089, and that this be entered in evidence as Exhibit 12.
All right, I'm now marking as Exhibit 12 the license history certification. It is 2 pages. Dates numbered AGO 88 through 89. Mr. Cottle, any objection?
No, ma'am.
Exhibit 12 is received.
Your Honor, I'd ask that you mark for identification as Exhibit 13, the notice of hearing dated April 11th, 2017. That's 4 pages total, AGO 090 to 093, and that this be moved into evidence as Exhibit 13.
I'm now marking as Exhibit 13 the notice of hearing dated April 11 of 2017, Bates numbered AGO 90 through 93. Mr. Cottle, do you have any objection?
No, ma'am.
All right, Exhibit 13 is received.
Your Honor, I have no further evidence.
Okay, did you want to make a statement, or have you done that already?
I've already given my preliminary remarks, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Cottle, now it's your turn, and I'm going to place you under oath. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give today will be the truth under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California?
I do.
All right, you can put your hand down. Sir, would you please state and spell your full name?
Wayne Marshall Cottle, WayneMartialCottle.
All right, sir, what would you like to tell the board?
Wow. I feel like I have so much to say. There's has been a long process. I've been on probation for about 2.5 years, and then, the little period of time leading up to that. I'm coming up on 5 years clean and sober this October. And all up until this time, as much communication as I've had with my monitor and everybody else involved, that, I haven't really, the board is still like this vague thing that, is kind of scary to all of us, and I feel really grateful to be able to come here. It feels like just a part of my recovery process, and how far that I've come, like being able to go in front of the board and just hopefully show a little bit that, I've proven that I'm safe to practice. Wow, and hearing, like, going through the documents leading up to this, like getting ready, reading the police report that happened when I was arrested is just mortifying, I mean, it was awful. And then hearing the list of, like, the violations and stuff that I've gotten, it was not fun to hear. But what I'm really focused on is just how amazing my life is right now. And it's because of all the recovery that I've done, and the family support that I have, and the recovery support that I have. And I have been in pretty intensive treatment, like, since I got arrested. And as part of my probation, I've done 60 days of inpatient residential treatment. I've done 3 consecutive year-long outpatient treatment programs through Kaiser's chemical dependency program. And I'm very involved in Narcotics Anonymous. So when I say involved, I mean I go to multiple meetings a week. I have a sponsor. I've worked the steps. I work with other men, and I try to live the spiritual principles in my life every day. If you look at the police report and sort of like the incident and what happened, it's important, I think, also that my partner is also in recovery. We've talked about this. She's more than fine with me sharing that. And she's the one who actually, like, called the police on me that day for a welfare check because she was so worried. We're still together now. We're engaged. We're both, like, in recovery together. And I think that's kind of important to my circumstances specifically because of the way the police report looks. We have a daughter who's 5 years old and, like, doing amazing. She hasn't had to see me drink or use, and that's the plan going forward. I know it might seem a little weird, like my probation term ends in October, and I'm applying for early release, and I'm not going to get word on how this goes for a month or two is what my probation monitor said. So, why am I here, like, applying for early release? And I had long conversations about this with, like, my partner and my sponsor, and really, like, this is a part of the process for me, and, like, being able to go in front of the board, like, express my gratitude, because it is not lost on me that I was allowed to continue the process of getting my license and practicing. Because that's been my dream and my goal for a long time. When I got arrested, I was still an intern, and so that made things super challenging, but, like, being allowed to be on probation, get clean and sober, get stable, I was able to get my license, and I now have, like, my dream job. I work at Kaiser in an emergency department, and I absolutely love it. And I'm a better clinician given everything that I've been through, as ugly as it looks on paper, and as much guilt and shame as I've had to work through, like in therapy and with my sponsor and through my step work. The fact is, like, I'm better for it, and I'm better for being on this probation, because I struggled with relapse. So I was already participating in a chemical dependency program prior to getting arrested, but I was starting to become a chronic relapser, like 30, 60, 90 days, and I was going to 12-step meetings. But I had never really suffered any real consequences. I got away with a lot of stuff for whatever reason. But getting arrested, you can imagine, was like a huge wake-up call, because as tough as I look, if I shave this beard off, I have a baby face, and I do not belong in jail. I was so scared. I've never been that scared in my entire life. And I was there overnight, and, I mean, that was really it. That combined with then, you know, a while later getting, you know, the accusation from the board. But at that point, I was already clean and sober, like I had already gone to treatment. By the time I turned in all my paperwork to the board, I had a lot of rehabilitation paperwork because I was, you know, I'd already done inpatient treatment, completed one outpatient treatment program. But it took that big of a deal to break me out of that cycle of relapse. And now I have 5 years clean. And because of the stipulations that I've had to follow for the board, it's actually, I've gotten to do 3 consecutive treatment programs in a row. That's not something I think people in recovery normally do, but it's allowed me to have like this amazing foundation. So I've been to Kaiser Chemical Dependency recovery programs in Sacramento, Vacaville, and Vallejo, and I've seen 12-step meetings in all those places, and it's just, it's allowed me to get the time that I think I needed to be stable going forward. I think I want to address like my the violations that I've gotten, just because like there's a handful of them. I've been really good at being in recovery. I haven't been great at being on probation. It's not like my strong point, like the details of how just regimented you have to be, and especially early on, I couldn't afford the forms early on for the testing, to be completely honest with you. Now that's not an issue, but I was buying 5 forms at a time, which was like the minimum you could get to get the shipping. And so like there was several times where I knew I had to test, I checked in, and I didn't have the form that I needed. So I would let my probation monitor know about that. Also early on, I didn't realize, and it was my mistake, that I had to check in on the weekends, because I don't get tested on the weekends, but you have to call in on the weekends anyway. And so I missed some call-ins, so I got a violation about that. Doing my quarterly reports, my 12-step meetings aren't listed in there, and so a couple of times I have just forgotten to submit my signature sheets, so I've sent them in after the fact. So I got violation letters for that. It's procedural stuff, not that it's not important, but in terms of my long-term recovery, yeah, I don't think it affects my foundation or my stability. And I feel like I had so much to say, but just to keep it simple, I really appreciate being able to be here. Like I've never been happier in my life. I can't imagine like going back to doing what I was doing. And having worked through it, it's wild to sit in front of the board and be like explaining why like I did methamphetamine. I mean, that sounds crazy now. I mean, the way it happened was I started using Adderall in graduate school to study, and made some bad choices around that. It became a social thing, and then when I couldn't get that, I graduated to other stimulants, and it just progressed like addiction does. But to now, like, be where I am, it's just, it's night and day. It's completely different. I mean, I have a great relationship, a great family. We built a house recently. I live close to my family, who I have a great relationship with, and none of that stuff would have happened without recovery, being clean and sober. And I can't help but think that like being on probation maybe made that possible, because I wasn't getting it up until that point. But getting arrested and then being on probation and kind of having that like extra oversight is maybe what I needed. And now I have 5 years, which I think I'm coming up on 5 years, which I think is like a huge milestone. And my plan going forward is to participate in Narcotics Anonymous. I mean, for the rest of my life. We don't ever get recovered. I'm just recovering, and I plan on continuing to work with other men, and then just a little bit of use of professional self when it's appropriate with the people that I work with, because in an emergency department, I see a lot of addiction, and that's part of my service too, is to be able to, you know, help people in my work and then also in recovery. So that's it.
Mr. Messer, any questions?
Just a few, Your Honor, thank you. Mr. Cottle, first of all, congratulations on your sobriety. 5 years, that's a great accomplishment. So you've had no tolling on your probation. Your probation, to the best of your knowledge, is set to expire this October. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you said you've been clean and sober coming up on your 5-year anniversary. Have you used drugs since your arrest in October of 2012?
No.
Do you use alcohol at all?
No.
You addressed the violations, and I appreciate that. And I apologize to the board, the order in which the exhibits were admitted are not in chronological order with the violations. But I did want to talk a little bit about Exhibit 6, which is on AGO 062 and 063. And that was the letter that was dated June 20th. The letter speaks for itself, but then the exhibit we have is just an email from you that says there's an attachment. No attachment made it into the record. So if you could just kind of look at the violation letter, and then if you can remember, explain to the board what your explanation was for the violation on that date. I think the other violations, you did a good job of at least explaining why the violation occurred. I didn't see that in the record, and I may have missed it, but if you could just take a moment to refresh your recollection and then just address why that violated, what was the story behind that violation?
Yeah, and I believe I remember this. I'm trying to just, and I'm not sure why, but I believe because there's multiple dates there, and I never missed, I never no-showed to a test like multiple times like that. I think this is, I would have to look at a calendar, but I think those are weekend dates, and I think those are the ones that I didn't check in on the weekends. And so this is when we sort of kind of resolve that issue that, yes, I need to make sure that I'm checking in on the weekends.
What was the reason why you didn't check in?
I don't get tested on the weekends, and so I got lax on the weekends, honestly. Like, I check in every morning, and my partner helps me check in too. So I try to have like a backup system, but on the weekends, it's when you're not getting tested on the weekend, it's just easy to get lax in the check-ins. So I would check in, I think, most of the time, but I let some slip. It hasn't been an issue since.
Now, you stated for some of the violations, the reasoning, and you talked about this to the board, was that you were experiencing some financial issues. You said that's no longer an issue now. What's changed?
So I got a new job partway through my probation, so I got hired at Kaiser. That's like always been my goal, to work for Kaiser, especially to work in an emergency department. And so it just, that made all the difference. So I haven't had any problem like covering everything.
In your best estimate, how much does probation cost you a month now? How much do you spend?
It's about $400 a month, not including, like, I drive to Vallejo from Sacramento for my group every week, and so, there's that, and a minor copay, but it's basically about $400 a month.
Would you, if your probation were terminated, would you continue going to Vallejo for your group sessions, or would you do something else?
So I am the longest standing CDRP participant. They think probably that there ever has been, given my circumstances, and I've bounced around to all the different things. So it's not normal that somebody stays in CDRP as long as I have. So when my probation's over, I will transition, and we'll do a transition ceremony and everything. But there's an alumni group that I'll continue going to, like, for the foreseeable future. But the mainstay of my program will be my 12-step work in Narcotics Anonymous. We're very involved in Davis, Narcotics Anonymous. I play softball every Tuesday night with all people from Davis softball or Davis Recovery. That's our family of recovering people. So that is my foundation, and I think that's like what the goal is most of the time in recovery. You do your treatment so that you can get into your recovery and stay clean and sober long term.
When you said CDRP, you mean the Chemical Dependency Recovery Program?
Yes.
And so the $400 a month, is that something that you can now afford under your current salary from Kaiser?
Yes.
You talked about Narcotics Anonymous, and that you're going to remain active for life. How often do you attend Narcotics Anonymous meetings now?
Anywhere from 2 to 5 meetings a week. I only get my weekend meetings signed because it's hard for me with 5 years clean and sober to get my meeting card signed still. It's like it's a pride and ego thing. So I go to more meetings than I get signatures for, but I'd say 2 to 5.
And I'm assuming you finished all 12 steps?
Yeah. And I've taken several men through the steps.
And it's very obvious from listening to your testimony that you are very proud of your current job with Kaiser. How long have you been with them?
Just past 2 years.
And how does your job with Kaiser contribute to your sobriety?
It is like one of the ultimate accomplishments for me, and being in recovery, going through this probation process, it was all tied in. I was able to keep that stuff going, get my license. Because I got my license, I got hired at Kaiser. It's all sort of connected, and I know for a fact that if I use again or start to drink or something like that, I'll lose all that stuff. It won't happen right away, but it will definitely happen. And then my job, my family, all that stuff. And then, like I say, I get to work with I get to work in a trauma center. I get to work with a lot of other addicts and alcoholics, and I make sure that I seek them out, and even when a referral is not made. So I feel like it's a big part of my recovery.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, now it's the time for the board. If board members have questions. I'm going to start at the same side of the room. Ms. Pines, do you have any questions?
Yes, just a couple of little details. How long did you use before you started on your recovery? How old were you?
I started drinking at 19, but I didn't use any kind of stimulant drug until 2006. So, I did have addictive qualities for sure. I drank alcoholically, and I used other drugs like marijuana, as an undergrad, and but things didn't really progress rapidly to this point of consequences until starting in 2006.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And tell us again, if your probation ends in October, why you're here today. I know you've had to submit a lot of material and time-consuming.
I think there's a lot of different aspects to it. I want to show the board. I wanted to kind of be in front of you guys and look you in the eye, because this has been a huge thing, and I've been working so hard. It feels like kind of behind the scenes, and I just had wanted to be in front of you in real time, I guess, and be able to at least state my case, and show that I've been working really hard, because I appreciate that I was given the opportunity. I could have just not, and so I wanted just to show that there's been a lot of paperwork, but I just wanted to show I don't know, just person to person, that I've been working hard, and I wanted to be a social worker for a long time. I wanted to be licensed for a long time, and I'm taking it seriously.
Well, thank you. It's good for us to see success for ourselves too. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Ms. Coley?
Good morning. Thank you for coming in, and congratulations on your sobriety. I had a couple questions. One was, you're working in a high-stress environment in the emergency room. And you said you had a history of relapse. So how do you feel like you can continue to handle that, and do you feel that there may be some danger around relapsing again?
I feel like I absolutely found the job where I belong in the emergency department. I'm very, very lucky that it worked out that way, but that is where I'm supposed to be working. And even in a trauma center, like, I need it. Like, I thrive on it. They're going to have to drag me out of there when I retire, I think, because I like it that much. So having that feeling of, like, that is where I'm supposed to be, it helps me deal with the difficult things, I think. And we have a big team of social workers, and I have a lot of people I can process things with. I have an excellent manager who I can process things with. I have a therapist that I'll always keep in touch with, you know, even after my probation's over. And I also have Jacqueline. I mean, I have my partner, and although we don't talk about, like, we try to keep our work stuff, like, you know, we don't talk about details and stuff, like, she's super supportive. And I'll tell you what else, like, if you want some assurance that that I'm gonna stay sober, clean and sober, like, after the fact, she is on me. And she knows, if I use, she knows immediately. And she'll call the police on me again. And so I'm gonna have continued accountability. And that, combined with all the support, I think, has made it okay for me to be working where I'm working.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Ms. Wong?
Thanks for being here. I really want to commend you for your courage to come and appear in front of the board to show your case and to really want to share with us, you know, the rehabilitation efforts that you have done. So thank you very much for that. So my question is that, you know, you mentioned about, you know, your use of stimulants, you know, starting in undergraduate. So can you tell us a little bit more, you know, after all these, you know, learning about, you know, yourself and, you know, the treatment program, how is that, you know, what was the purpose served for you, you know, to start, you talked about the progressive disease, you know, so what role does it play for you during that time, you know, when you were using stimulants? And, you know, the other question is that, you know, once you know your trigger and the reason, you know, how do you, what would you do, you know, to really monitor, you know, yourself for not going back there again?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the reason initially, the reason I gave myself, you know, the excuse that I made was, like, I wanted to be able to study longer, write papers longer, that sort of thing, and that happens in school. And so it started with Adderall, which felt safer, I guess, but it very quickly became recreational, and it became my drug of choice, stimulants in general. And so that's why, that's the kind of the reason for the stimulants. Like, it started out, the excuse I made was academic, and then but it became quickly just social, recreational addiction, and it escalated over the course of several years. But then, I mean, as far as, like, knowing my triggers, I've done a lot of paperwork on relapse prevention, identifying triggers, like in rehab, in outpatient treatment. We do a lot of that kind of work. So I know, you know, what my relapse triggers are. But I think more important than that is, like, I don't know anybody that uses. I don't have people's phone numbers in my phone that use. All of my support system knows that I'm in recovery. It's not a secret. So I have set my life up in a way to prevent relapse. Even in the, I mean, if it was put in front of me, I wouldn't use, because there's a lot of things in place that I know that I've put in place specifically as protection against relapse.
So will you be doing, so you've been engaging in a lot of the activities, you know, staying active with your CDRP program, you know, the community that you built. So you're going to be off probation regardless, you know, of the, the board's decision. So what kind of activities you will be keeping, you know, keep attending, you know, in order to, you know, stay clean and sober?
Meetings is the first thing. And then, you know, the foundation of the program is, they say we keep what we have by giving it away. And so, like, working with other men is something I have to do consistently, being of service in that way. That's how we stay clean. I also look at, like, my work as a social worker as part of my service. And that's me being able to give it away to some extent. But then I'm also, all my friends are in recovery, so and as far as activities, like, you know, I love softball and CrossFit and, you know, stuff like that, and I do that with people that are in recovery.
Thank you.
Dr. Chu?
No.
All right. Ms. Connolly?
Just a real quick question, and I'm sure I'm going to echo what the board's been saying about congratulations, and sounds like you're on a great path right now. The only question I would have is, your life is amazing right now. You're really happy, you love your job, you've got a great relationship. What's your plan if something really bad happens to that perfect life?
Good question. I have so much support around me. Like, of course, like you imagine these disaster scenarios. You know, I mean, what if this or this happened? Like I say, I live on the same property as my dad and my brother, who are like my best friends. My mom passed away when I was in high school, and so like we are super, super tight. So if something was to happen to one of them, or my partner, or my daughter, God forbid, I mean, those are like the worst things I can imagine. But I have all of those people, right? So I have such a strong support system of people that love me, and then on top of that, like my recovery, my sponsor, if something horrible has happened, my sponsor would be my first call. And it's either my sponsor or Jacqueline, usually. And so I would just hope that I have a safe place to go, you know, like a family member's house, and then a meeting, and that I have enough people that love me and that I love, that I can get through I've seen some people go through some awful stuff in recovery, as bad as you can imagine, and stay clean. And so I think I can do it too.
Thanks.
All right. Ms. Lawson? Dawson. Sorry, I got your name completely wrong.
I have no questions.
All right. Chair Brown?
I have no questions.
Ms. Weidelspach?
No questions.
Ms. Lum?
No questions.
Dr. Brew?
I have questions. I always have questions. Sorry. Will you use alcohol once you're off probation?
No.
Okay, I was just checking that out. So there are two areas I want to look at. One is, there wasn't a lot in here about your therapy work, and how is that connected to your sobriety?
So technically, I guess the weekly therapy requirement is being fulfilled by my weekly group therapy that I have.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have individual therapy, and so it's roughly once a month. Sometimes it's more frequently if something's going on, and it's with the same therapist that I have for my group therapy. So that's kind of how it works at CDRP, is like you'll have a therapist, and then you have your group facilitator and also. I've had 4 different therapists throughout the course of my probation. So I had a guy I worked with for a long time who, because I worked with him prior to my probation starting, I couldn't continue working with him. So I transitioned. I had a therapist when I was inpatient rehabilitation. And I had another gentleman I worked with for like a year. So I've built some great relationships. We've done a lot of work. I mean, we've gone into like, in rehab, we went into like the loss of my mom, which I don't think I really ever dealt with like prior to that. And you try to dig at the reasons why I use, you know. And I think we got there, you know. But lately, like in the last, it hasn't been as deep lately, honestly. Like we touch on things when something major comes up. I just had a session before this meeting, because like I wasn't anxious before I got here, you guys, honestly. And then like as soon as I sat down, I'm like my voice is shaking, and I just can't get my words out, I feel like. But we touched on like those big events that come up, and we talked about why, you know, like why am I doing this? And she thought it was a good idea too, as part of the process. So I will work with Karen, I think, just ongoing. And I also, Melissa, the therapist I had when I was at Sacramento, and Curtis, who's now moved on to a different location, they've all extended the optic. I can call them anytime, if I need a touch-up or whatever.
And the last thing that I want to address, looking at your inconsistent history with calling in for your testing. So you haven't been able to do that for even 1 year. Like there's no 12-month period, June 2016. So this is the longest you've gone where you've been consistent. And what gives me pause is your professionalism is also part of your ability to practice. And while right now you're at Kaiser and you have somebody looking after you, we also have to imagine that you would someday be in a private practice. And there's a lot of devil in the details, right? With knowing the laws, following the rules, being conscientious. So that makes me a little nervous that you struggle with that, and it makes me, between that and your attraction to stimulants, makes me wonder if you're ADD and untreated, and that's something for you to ponder, because there are non-drug treatments that can help with that, if that's the issue.
Is there a question? What's the question?
Yeah, I think the comment is, I want you to know I'm concerned that it's really hard for you to make a phone call once a day. That really, I don't understand that.
Let me help you make it into a question. With what Dr. Brew just said, is there anything you want to tell the board about why you think it would be safe for you to practice after hearing Dr. Brew's concerns?
Yeah. It was concerning for me too. It's my weak point, I would say. I think if you look at, there's multiple performance reviews from my employers, like as part of my paperwork I've submitted, and they're all really good. I just had another one that was really good. I can say it here. I'm really good at my job. I'm well respected. Like, you don't get hired, I don't think, at Kaiser unless you've got a good track record and you know what you're doing and you can take care of the details. It's not to say I don't slip, because I will admit, like, that is like my weak point. But I'm never late for work. I don't call in sick. I schedule my vacations. I make my meetings. I've taken on extra projects. I'm doing a high utilizer program that actually is social work led. It came from me and another guy that work in the emergency department for our highest utilizers, and I'm really excited about that. And you have to be organized enough to get that stuff done. And I would also say that this is the longest period that I've had without having that problem. So I've tried to get better at it. It was hard for me to get used to the actual being on probation part, not being in recovery and not using, but just the being on probation part. I hope I'm better at it now, and that I've made the right improvements over time. But I definitely get that concern.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Ashley, do you have any questions?
No questions, just thanks for being here.
Thanks.
I did have a question, sir. I noticed when I looked through the records before today that you have a cost recovery of, it looks like it's $2,890. Did I get it right?
Yeah, it's paid.
It's paid? All right, that's what I wanted to know. All right, Mr. Messer, any more questions?
No questions, ma'am, Your Honor.
Any of the board members have any follow-up questions? I see no hands. Mr. Cottle, is there anything else you'd like to add while you're here today?
I think that was enough. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave here feeling good, regardless, and if it doesn't work out, I'll finish strong.
All right, well then, the case is submitted. The hearing is concluded, and you'll get a decision in the mail. Let's go off the record. Mr. Cottle, the court reporter needs to give you a form in case you ever want to order a transcript of today's hearing. And then the court reporter told me at our last break that she needs about 5 minutes in between now and the next hearing. So everyone can kind of take a little breather while she does that. Mr. Heath and Mr. Messer, you ready to go?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's go on the record. The record is now open in the petition petition for early termination of probation of Robert Joseph Heath Jr. It's Office of Administrative Hearings, case number 20170. Do I need to start over? I'm not loud enough?
No,
Okay, sorry about that. Let me start over so you can get it all, okay? All right, the record is now open in the petition for early termination of probation of Robert Joseph Heath Jr. It's being heard before the Board of Behavioral Sciences on May 11 of 2017 in Anaheim, California. It is the agency case number MF 2013-1084, Office of Administrative Hearings, case number 2017-040444. I am Administrative Law Judge Teresa Brell. I work for the Office of Administrative Hearings. A full quorum of the board is present. Now, why don't we have the appearances for the parties? First, for the Attorney General's office.
Thank you, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Kevin W. Messer for the Attorney General's office.
And for the petitioner.
That's Robert Joseph Heath Jr.
All right, Mr. Heath, you were probably in the room when I told the other petitioners about the procedure, but I'm going to go over it with you again.
Sure.
What's going to happen today is this is your chance to present evidence regarding your petition for early termination of probation. That is what you're requesting, correct?
Yes, it is.
And what will happen is Mr. Messer is going to be providing documents that will be received in evidence, and he may make a statement about the case, and then you will be given a chance to make your statement. I'm going to place you under oath, and then you're going to be allowed to testify before the board. After you're done with your testimony, done with your initial presentation, Mr. Messer will be allowed to ask you questions. And then if any of the board members have any questions to ask of you, they will do that. Sometimes I ask some follow-up questions. And then after we go through one round of everyone asking you questions, I'll let you speak if there's anything else you want to add, and then we'll get follow-up questions from that. After the case has been presented, all the information's been presented, the case will be submitted. The board will be deciding what to do about your petition in closed session, and then you will receive a written decision in the mail. So do you have any questions about the procedure?
No, I do not.
All right, Mr. Messer, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor. Thank you. I have a brief preliminary statement. Petitioner filed his petition for early termination of probation on March 10, 2017. Petitioner was under the influence of methamphetamine on December 15, 2012. He entered into a stipulated settlement effective March 11, 2015, placing him on probation for 3 years. Pending any tolling, the probation should terminate March 11, 2018. I have several items that I'd like to introduce into evidence. I'd like marked as Exhibit 1, a petition for early termination of probation with attachments dated March 10, 2017. That's 12 pages total, and that's AGO 001 to 012, 012.
I'm now marking as Exhibit 1 the petition for early termination of probation with attachments dated March 10 of 2017, 12 pages. Mr. Heath, any objection?
No.
Exhibit 1 is received.
Thank you, Your Honor. The stipulated settlement and disciplinary order dated February 9th, 2015, 17 pages total, AGO numbers 013 to 029, and ask that that be marked as Exhibit 2 and entered into evidence as Exhibit 2.
I'm now marking as Exhibit 2 the stipulated settlement and disciplinary order dated February 9 of 2015. It's 17 pages. Mr. Heath, any objection?
No.
Exhibit 2 is received.
Your Honor, the therapy session documentation, 18 pages total, AGO 030 to 047. I'd ask that this be marked as Exhibit 3 and entered into evidence as Exhibit 3.
I'm now marking as Exhibit 3 the therapy session documentation. It's 18 pages, Bates numbered AGO 30 through 47. Mr. Heath, any objection?
No, I do not.
Exhibit 3 is received.
Your Honor, a letter from the Board of Behavioral Science to to the dated September 30th, 2015, one page that's been date stamped as AGO 048. I'd ask that that be marked as Exhibit 4 and entered into evidence as Exhibit 4.
I'm marking as Exhibit 4, the September 30 of 2015 letter from the Board of Behavioral Sciences to Mr. Heath. It's one page. Mr. Heath, any objection?
No.
Exhibit 4 is received.
Your Honor, license history and certification dated April 10th, 2017. It's date stamped as AGO 049, one page. I'd ask that that be marked for identification as Exhibit 5 and entered into evidence as Exhibit 5.
I'm now marking as Exhibit 5, the license history certification. It's one page. Mr. Heath, any objections?
No.
Exhibit 5 is received.
Your Honor, notice of hearing, 4 pages total, stamped as AGO 050 to 053. I'd ask that that be marked for identification as Exhibit 6 and entered into evidence as Exhibit 6.
I'm now marking as Exhibit 6, the notice of hearing, 4 pages. Mr. Heath, any objection?
No.
Exhibit 6 is received.
Your Honor, that concludes my evidence, and I have no other preliminary matters at this time.
All right, Mr. Heath, now it's your turn. So would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give today will be the truth under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, sir. What would you like to tell the board?
All right. Well, first, I'd like to just thank God for another day, sobriety and all my blessings. I also would like to thank Your Honor, the board, and the Attorney General for taking the time to hear my petition. I'd also like to thank my mom, who came out to New Jersey to help support me. She's back there. We had a nice road trip prior to this meeting. I'd also like to thank my dad, because he was here for me the first few weeks of my sobriety, and I don't think I could have did it without him. He came out from New Jersey, and he took me to all my meetings, and he waited in the car, and he took me to my programs. So really couldn't have done it without him. I'd also like to thank my sponsor, Steve, the Newark, San Ramon, and Rockridge Fellowships for all of the people that helped keep me sober. I also like to thank my therapist, Ronald Ma, and my supervisor, Carla, for her faith and support of me. It was truly a team effort that I couldn't have done it without each and every one of them. Today, I stand before you humble and grateful. I'm very grateful because my experiences made me a better person. It's made me a better therapist to my clients. It's made me a better son, a better brother, and a better friend. On December 15, 2012, I was arrested for being under the influence of methamphetamine. And at that time of my arrest, I realized how important my license and helping others was to me. But I also realized that in order to help others, I needed to help myself. So on January 2nd, 2013 was the last time I took a substance into my body. On January 5th, I started Kaiser Chemical Dependency Recovery Day Treatment Program, and that was the date of my first AA meeting. And they told me, if you want what we have and are willing to go to any lengths to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. And I wanted what they had. And I have not taken a substance in over 52 months. So after I completed the CDRP day treatment, I voluntarily entered their 90-day early recovery program. I graduated with both. My certificates were included with my packet. I attended individual and group counseling education, and I also underwent random drug testing. In addition, I got a sponsor, and I worked at the 12 steps. I got into service as secretary to meeting. In August of 2013, I commenced my PC 1000 diversion program. There I completed education, individual and group therapy, randomly drug tested, and completed that in February of 2014, and my charges were dismissed. From February 2014 all the way till my March 11th probation commencement, I remained committed to my sobriety AA meetings and in service. After going through the steps with my sponsor, we went through all the steps at one time, and now I currently do a step a month, and I'm on step 5 for May. And I'm working on, again, admitting to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the nature of our wrongs. And so I've actually been telling a lot more of my colleagues about my experience. I kept it to myself for most of the time, and now I've really overcome a lot of the shame and have been able to start telling a lot more people who I work with that I have an issue with alcohol and drugs. and it's been quite freeing, and they've been really awesome and supportive, so I'm really thankful for that. So since March 11th, over 2 years, I've done random drug screening. I haven't had one positive test, never missed the test, called in every day. I completed my education. I went above and beyond and went and obtained a certificate in chemical dependency studies from Cal State East Bay. I also obtained a certificate from Gorski as a relapse prevention counselor. I also obtained the NAADC Master Addiction Counselor credential. And they're all the copies of that are included in my petition. And the MAC, the Master of Addiction Counselor credential, requires 20 CEUs every year of addiction studies. So I will, in order to keep that going, which I plan on doing, I have to continue education. And I hope one day to start a private practice with a specialty in addiction counseling, and maybe even one day open up my own treatment program. Over 2 years, I've worked weekly with my therapist, Ronald Ma. We've uncovered root causes, including unresolved attachment issues, anger, depression, and anxiety, my poor coping and calming skills, and my negative, disempowering self-talk. And working with Mr. Ma, I've really been able to make tremendous strides in identifying those issues before they occur and kind of intervening ahead of time. So I've have just much better relationships than I've ever had in my entire life. And since my probation and my arrest, my employer, Carla, promoted me to team leader. My supervisor, she knew about the arrest and the probation, yet she still felt confident in my ability to work with clients and guide fellow staff. Her letter of support was also included with my packet. And I also am proud to say I was recently promoted to supervisor of Alameda County Forensic Mental Health, so I'll be working in the jail, so I even get an even better opportunity to use my skills with chemical dependency and working with some of the inmates. I'm very excited to start that on June 5th. And my education experiences really have helped improve my ability to work with clients. I'm particularly proud of work I've done with a young male who was addicted, had not been sober since elementary school. I believe my experience transformed my ability to talk about sobriety in the 12 steps. And he made an ultimate awesome decision to get a sponsor, attend meetings, and work the steps himself. And he got his first job at age 30 and got his own independent housing. Each day when I wake up and before I go to sleep, I thank God for another day that He helped me remain sober. And I also ask of how I can be the best service to others. I read my daily reflections and I meditate on it. I read the big book. I complete an inventory and see where I can improve. I attend a variety of meetings during the week, at least 2, sometimes more. And I like to go to a mixture of speaker meetings and literature meetings, and I pretty much read all of the AA literature. And I use my education and therapy to check in with myself about my emotional state. I meditate, challenge, and change my self-talk. I use my support system, my therapist, my program support, friends and family to process thoughts and feelings. I exercise several times per week. I'm eating better. I take road trips, like the one I went on with my mom. I like to take pictures of scenery, so I go sightseeing, go up and down the coast. So when I'm feeling not so great, I take a road trip and get out in nature and near the water. I can honestly say that the promises have come true for me. Many good things have happened to me, and I plan to continue to do what works. I'm going to continue my meetings, I'm going to stay in service to others, and I'm going to continue my individual therapy. I can say for the first time that I am truly happy and I am truly blessed. I want to just say thank you again for your time, and I believe actions speak louder than words, and I hope my actions have shown you my commitment to overcoming my challenges and becoming a better person. Please consider my petition for early release from my probation. Thank you.
Mr. Messer, any questions?
Just a few, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Heath, first of all, I think I'd be the first of many to congratulate you on your sobriety and also your well-presented case to the group. Thank you. Just want to ask you a couple of background questions.
Okay.
Prior to your arrest, how long had you been using methamphetamine?
Just periodically, over a couple of years, but yeah, I never really used it like kind of ongoing. It was kind of whenever I came into contact with it.
Did you use any other drugs?
I've smoked marijuana, I've drank, but sometimes cocaine, but mostly I drank
When did you start using drugs?
in college.
And when did you start drinking?
In college.
Was this the first arrest you had for drug or alcohol use, or had you had prior arrests?
No prior arrest.
And now, you said your sobriety date was January 2nd, 2013. Your arrest was December 15th. So did you use drugs or alcohol subsequent to your arrest?
Yes.
How often?
Well, I went home to New Jersey for the holiday right after my arrest, so I was drinking then.
And what caused you to start sobriety on January 2nd?
I knew I needed help. I couldn't do it on my own. And actually, over the holiday, that kind of solidified it for me, because even though this happened, I still needed to feel the need to drink to cope.
You mentioned that the charges against you were dismissed. You may not know the answer to this, but do you know why they were dismissed?
Because I completed the PC 1000 was my first arrest. So the diversion, you complete the program and the judge dismisses.
So you participated in a diversion program?
Yes.
And there were no issues with that? It was successful completion?
Yes.
And you have not received any notices of violation while on probation?
No.
You mentioned in your petition that you attend AA meetings. How often do you attend?
At least twice per week. Try to get to more, but I do the minimal two per week, but I've been up to many as 4 per week.
And I saw in the packet you have a copy of your 4-year chip.
Yes, very proud of that.
How many, do you sponsor anyone else?
No, I do not at this time.
You mentioned that you wanted to continue with AA and weekly therapy, and you talk in your petition, or you mention in your petition, you've been ongoing weekly therapy since March 2015.
Yes.
When you say continue therapy, would you continue in that with that same provider?
It's possible. I've got a new job, so I really have to talk with him when I get back on what the schedule is going to look like, because I'm going to have a new schedule. So if we can work, see each other at the same time. If not, I'm going to immediately try to find someone who can, fit my schedule.
So in your petition, you list your employer as the Alameda County Behavioral Health Care Services. Are they still your employer now?
Yes.
When you say new job, is it a new job within that?
Yes, it is.
Can you describe for the board what the new job is?
All right, I'll be supervising behavioral health clinicians at the jail, Santa Rita Jail in Dublin, California.
And what were you doing prior to the new job?
I was a behavioral health clinician too, which is basically a social worker.
Mm-hmm. And how is the previous job and the new job, how will these jobs contribute to your sobriety, in your opinion?
Well, it's service to others. I really, like I mentioned earlier, I have several clients who are dual diagnosed, and I really believe that my experiences in the way, my experiences in the program have really helped transform my way of being able to talk about getting sober in the program. And it's just basically service and wanting to give away what I received from the program.
In your petition, when describing why you're safe to practice as a counselor in independent practice, you refer to improved coping skills. Could you describe for the board what those skills are?
Sure, I mentioned some of them in my presentation. I exercise. I'm an avid weightlifter. I run multiple times per week. Like I said, I like to go on road trips and get out into nature and take photography, take pictures of scenery. I talk to my program supports. I talk to my family, my brother especially, and I also have friends. I don't have any friends who use, so I have a good support network. So if I ever felt the need to have to process things, I have plenty of places to do that.
And so your probation began March 11th, 2015, so is it your understanding that your probation would end March 11th, 2018?
Yes,
So that's about 10 months from now.
yes.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, do any of the board members have questions? And I'm going to start with you again, Ms. Pines.
Congratulations on all you've done. Been very thorough in your recovery. One omission, I think I heard, how is it that you have not sponsored someone else?
Well, to be really honest with you, I have a really hectic work schedule, so, I believe that, I'm giving back by working with my clients, and so I really haven't had a lot of time, and I don't want to shortchange somebody, and I want to be able to give them 100% of my time, and just hasn't been able to, hasn't been something I've been able to do, but I have been prompted quite a few times that I got to get on that, so I'm definitely going to have to, because I'll be in trouble with my sponsor if I don't do that.
Okay, thank you. One more.
All right, Ms. Coley? I have no questions. Ms. Wong?
Just a simple question.
Sure.
So thanks for giving us a very detailed account of the work that you have done to be in compliance and, to stay clean and sober. So wonderful. I'm not hearing, maybe I'm just not clear, I'm not hearing the particular reason why you're asking for early termination. What really is the reason?
Well, part of it's financial. It's quite expensive between the therapy, the forms, and the drug testing. Costs about over $900 a month for me. And the East Bay area, I'm sure, I don't know if people here, I guess everyone's from California, the East Bay is quite expensive to live. So it's really financial barrier for me. So that's one of the reasons. But I just also, I want to be sober. I don't want to have to be sober. So I want to be able to do this because I want to and not because I have to. And I think that would be really important for me to begin that process. Because I've been basically, under probation, and then I also had my diversion. So there's always been kind of something, for exception of that couple of months between the end of diversion and the start of my probation, I've always had something over me, and I want to be able to do this without having somebody over me. I want to do it. So that's basically the main reasons.
So when you talked about the coping skills, I'm not hearing that, there's too much involved with the recovery community. So what kind of, are you planning to continue, the AA meetings, the recovery?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to continue meetings, continue getting, meeting my sponsor. I'll have to try to think about getting sponsees. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I can't do it on my own. I realize that. And so the more people I have involved with this, the better chances I have. So I'm absolutely going to avail myself to as many supports as I can.
Just one quick follow-up question.
Sure.
So how long have you been in therapy?
Over 2 years.
Okay. Any plan to continue?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Dr. Chu?
Thank you, Your Honor. Congratulations on your accomplishment. You mentioned that you use alcohol and drugs since college day, and sometimes maybe coping mechanism. So what other understanding you have, why you were using drug and alcohol, and then how, and what is your understanding now, and how you're going to prevent, relapse and, the usual question.
Sure. Well, using drugs and alcohol is an easy way to cope and escape. And, facing emotions that are painful is difficult. So I think I just, it was easy to pick up a drink or a drug because it was immediate relief from the things that were going on. And being sober and having to face, painful emotions and things that happen is a lot more difficult process. So, I did it to escape, but I don't need to escape now. There's emotions. I can handle it. I can face it. I have plenty of people. I have plenty of coping skills. I don't need to take the easy way out. and I don't want to take the easy way out. And then the other part of your question, sorry?
No, you answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Connolly,
I have no questions, thank you.
Ms. Locke Dawson.
Just a comment. I just want to, is that on, Caesar? Yes. I just want to acknowledge that your support of your mother. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's really nice that your parents helped you with this. I
Yeah,
think it's
they're
probably
awesome.
been critical in your recovery,
Yes.
so just, thank you, Mom.
All right, Chair Brown.
No comment.
Dr. Weidelsbach. I pronounced it several ways, I'm sure.
It's fine, no.
Okay. Ms. Lawner.
No questions, just thank you for coming in and congratulations, as everyone has said, on your sobriety.
Dr. Brew.
No questions.
Ms. Ashley.
No questions, just again, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Mr. Despati.
Got it? Yes. Thank you. No questions as well, and congratulations for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a couple follow-up that I just wanted to touch on. When I look at Exhibit 2, which is this decision and order, you have a cost recovery that was ordered of $1,595. Have you paid that?
Yes, I did.
And the other thing I noticed, there's a prohibition of supervision of unlicensed persons.
Yes.
In your new job, would they be licensed or unlicensed persons?
They will be licensed, and my current supervisor who hired me knows about my arrest as well.
So that's not part of why you want the early termination?
Well, I do eventually want to supervise and also teach CEUs, so that is also another, so thanks for reminding me of that point.
All right. Mr. Messer, any more questions?
Just to clarify on the financials, since it was a reason for the early termination, you said it cost you about $900 a month. What percentage of your budget does that take up?
Oh, let's see. Give me a second, I'm terrible with math.
Sorry to make you do math in public.
Yeah, let's see. 21, 40.
Just a rough
Sure,
estimate.
so I net about $4,200 a month, so.
About 25%.
Yeah, thank you. You're better at math than me.
I have no further questions.
Any other questions from the board? And I'm going to look and see if anyone raises their hand here. I'm not seeing any. Now, Mr. Heath, anything else that you want to tell us?
No, I just want to thank you all again for your time and consideration.
All right, well then, the hearing is concluded. The matter is taken under submission. The board will decide how to deal with your petition in closed session, and you will receive a written decision in the mail.
Okay.
Now, let's go off the record. Mr. Heath, you need to get a form from the court reporter, and everyone, again, the court reporter has told me she needs a little time to switch between cases, so we'll have a little break now. We have one more person.
Thank you, sir. Good luck to you. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's go on the record. The record is now open in the petition to reinstate marriage and family therapist license of Eileen Kelly. It's before the Board of Behavioral Sciences. The full board is present. It's agency number MF20111836, Office of Administrative Hearings, case number 2017040420. This hearing is being held on May 11 of 2017 in Anaheim, California. I am Administrative Law Judge Teresa Brell from the Office of Administrative Hearings. I am conducting the hearing, but the board will be deciding the petition in closed session. Now, why don't we have the appearances of the parties first for the Attorney General?
Thank you, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Kevin W. Messer for the Attorney General's office.
And for the petitioner, would you state your name?
Eileen, E-I-L-E-E-N, Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y.
Now, Ms. Kelly, you were probably in the room during the other hearings, but I'm going to go over the procedure with you again. What's going to happen today is the board's going to hear your petition to reinstate your license. And Mr. Messer is going to be allowed to present evidence. documents and make a statement, and then after he gets done with that, then you'll be allowed to present evidence. And then I'll note for the record that you handed me an exhibit that I'll deal with when I'm marking the exhibits.
Okay.
I have it right here.
All right.
And so you'll be sworn under oath, and you'll be allowed to make your presentation. After you get done making your presentation, then Mr. Messer will have a chance to ask you some questions. Then the board members will be given a chance to ask you some questions. I might ask some follow-up questions, and then I'll let you add additional information that you haven't told us yet.
Okay.
And then if anyone has any additional questions, then we'll allow that as well. After all the evidence has come in, then the hearing will be concluded, and the board will go in closed session, and
Right.
then you will hear what the result is through the mail. Do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Okay. I understand you've been here before,
I
and we
have.
have a lot of documents here, so you don't have to tell me everything or tell us everything that's in the documents, but we'd like to hear whatever it is you think is important, okay?
Okay.
All right, Mr. Messer, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor. Just a brief statement, and then I'll offer my exhibits. This petition for reinstatement was submitted by petitioner on February 5th, 2017. Petitioner was evaluated in June, July of 2012 pursuant to an 820 petition. Petitioner was found not competent to safely practice as a marriage and family therapist at that time. A default decision and order became effective May 22nd, 2014, revoking petitioner's marriage and family therapy license. On September 17, 2015, petitioner submitted a petition for reinstatement, and that petition was denied on January 6, 2016. Your Honor, I'd offer into evidence petition for reinstatement dated February 5th, 2017. That's 2 pages. It's bait stamped 001002. I ask that be marked for identification as Exhibit 1 and entered into evidence as Exhibit 1.
I'm marking as Exhibit 1 the petition for reinstatement dated February 5th of 2017, 2 pages. Ms. Kelly, do you have any objections to Exhibit 1?
No, I do not.
All right, Exhibit 1 is received.
Your Honor, petition for an order compelling psychological evaluation dated May 17, 2012. It's a 3-page document, AGO number 003 to 005. I'd ask that this be marked for identification as Exhibit 2 and entered into evidence as Exhibit 2.
I'm marking as Exhibit 2 the petition for an order compelling psychological evaluation dated May 17 of 2012. It's 3 pages. Ms. Kelly, any objections to it being received?
No, that's fine.
All right, Exhibit 2 is received.
Accusation dated November 12, 2013. This is 3 pages. AGO stamps 006 to 008. I ask that this be marked for identification as Exhibit 3 and entered into evidence as Exhibit 3.
All right, the accusation dated November 12 of 2013 is marked as Exhibit 3. It's 3 pages. Any objection, Ms. Kelly?
Okay, fine.
That means no objections, correct?
No objection.
All right, thank you. Exhibit 3 is received.
Your Honor, default decision and order dated April 22nd, 2014. This is a 4-page document. AGO stamps 009 to 012. I'd ask that this be marked for identification as Exhibit 4 and moved into evidence as Exhibit 4.
I'm marking as Exhibit 4 the default decision and order dated April 22nd of 2014. It's 4 pages. Ms. Kelly, any objection?
No, that's fine.
Exhibit 4 is received.
Your Honor, denial of petition for reinstatement. This is a 5-page document. AGO stamps 013 to 017. I'd ask that this be marked for identification as Exhibit 5 and moved into evidence as Exhibit 5.
All right, I'm marking as Exhibit 5 the denial of petition for reinstatement, 5 pages. Any objection, Ms. Kelly?
No, I do not.
Exhibit 5 is received.
Your Honor, comprehensive psychodiagnostic evaluation dated October 5th, 2012. This is a 23-page document. AGO stamps 018 to 039. I'd ask that this be marked for identification as Exhibit 6 and moved into evidence as Exhibit 6.
Okay, I'm now marking as Exhibit 6 the comprehensive psychodiagnostic evaluation dated October 5 of 2012. Ms. Kelly, any objection to us receiving that as evidence?
No.
All right.
Your Honor,
Yes.
in addition, given the sensitive nature of this document, I'd ask that you issue a protective order sealing this record as a confidential record. I've filled out the form here, and I'd ask that you enter a finding that it's a protected record.
And so you've got the protective order form that I can issue as well? Can you bring that?
Yes,
Maybe
Your
you can
Honor.
bring that up here. Ms. Kelly, what Mr. Messer has asked me to do is to order that although the board can consider this document, Exhibit 6, that it be filed under seal, which means it wouldn't be part of the public record. So, to protect your privacy.
What did he give you?
Oh, what he gave me is this is a form, and you'll get a copy. It's a protective order form. It's an order for me to sign, putting Exhibit 6 under seal, so that the board can look at it, you can look at it, I can look at it, Mr. Messer can, but it won't be part of the public record of these proceedings.
Protective order. Okay.
Is that okay with you? It's to protect your privacy, because there's some,
Oh, okay.
it's evaluation of your psychological condition is in this document. Sometimes we redact things, but if we redacted your name, everyone would know it's yours, because this is your hearing.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So hearing no objection, I'm going to enter the protective order, and I'm going to let me hold on a second. And I'm only sealing Exhibit 6. And then after we go off the record, we'll handle how we're going to get copies to people. I might have my office just serve it on all the parties.
Okay.
Okay, but you're certainly welcome to look at it. All right, Exhibit 6 is received, and it's placed under seal.
Thank you, Your Honor. Notice of hearing dated April 10th, 2017. This is a one-page document, AGO stamp 040. I'd ask that this be marked for identification as Exhibit 7 and entered in evidence as Exhibit 7.
All right, the notice of hearing, which is one page, is marked as Exhibit 7. Ms. Kelly, any objections?
No.
Okay, Exhibit 7 is received.
Your Honor, license history certification, it's a one-page document, stamped as AGO 041. I'd ask that this be marked as Exhibit 8, marked for identification as Exhibit 8, and entered into evidence as Exhibit 8.
The license history certification is marked as Exhibit 8. Any objection, Ms. Kelly?
No.
All right, Exhibit 8 is received. Mr. Messer, I'm going to mark as Exhibit 9, the letter that Ms. Kelly brought with her today. And Ms. Kelly, you want us to consider, you want the board to consider this letter, correct?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Messer, any objection to Exhibit 9 being received?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, Exhibit 9 is received. And then just for the record, I'm going to mark, it's not going to be entered as evidence, but I'm just going to mark for the record the protective order that I signed as the next in order, which is Exhibit 10. All right, Mr. Messer, anything else you'd like to add at this point?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Kelly, now it's your turn, but I need to put you under oath. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give today will be the truth under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California?
I do.
Okay, what would you like to tell the board, ma'am?
First, I have a question. I had a new psych eval done by Dr. Jason Conji. I don't know where that letter is.
Did you present it to the board when you submitted your petition?
I think Dr. Conji mailed it to the board.
Mr. Messer, are you familiar with that as being part of the record?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you bring a copy with you today?
I never saw it.
Oh, you haven't even seen it yourself?
No.
Okay. Well,
But I was told that it was put in my file.
All right. Well, there's nothing we can tell you about where it is because Mr. Messer doesn't know where it is, and it's not in our record for today's petition. Is there anything else you want to tell the board?
Well, I also went to a psychologist for therapy, and he has written a letter, but I don't have that. So
Okay.
I guess I have a question. Can it be submitted later?
Not for today's hearing. You could
Okay.
petition again at a later time and submit the documents.
All right,
But you
that's
could
fine.
bring it with you, or you could have presented it ahead of time, but we can't leave the record open. The board's going to decide
Okay.
your petition in
I
closed session
understand.
today. Okay, anything else you want to add?
Well, the psych eval was very important. I'm sorry, I don't know, I talked to somebody from the board, they said they received the letter and put it in my file. So, that's sort of confusing.
Anything else you want to add?
Well, I have been here before. The last time I was here, I was told then that I needed a current psych eval by the representative of the Attorney General's office. So that's why I went and saw Dr. Kanji. And he said, I mean, I spent a lot of time with him. He evaluated me and said he thought that I was fine.
How do you spell Dr. Kanji's name?
Jason, Jasonkanji.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell the board?
Well, I have worked, but I lost that job. I have worked for Uber, I've worked for Lyft. I miss my profession. I think about the good work that I have done, and I miss my work. I remember when I took my exams and I was very anxious and I passed the first time. And I remember my supervisors saying to me, "You are so gifted." And I didn't really understand that then. I got my license and I worked with people. I helped them. I helped them find their way through their problems. And I miss terribly. I miss helping people. I only get Social Security. It's been a financial disaster for me. But when I interned, I saw people for $15 an hour. It was hard for me to raise my rates. I saw people for nothing because making money wasn't the object for me. But now, making money is very difficult. I'm on food stamps. I didn't think I would ever sink as low as I have sunk. But I now know that I am gifted. Maybe it has taken this experience and to really, truly take this in. getting my master's degree. I mean, I never thought I would have a master's degree. But yet, you know, one step at a time, and next thing you know, I had my master's degree.
Can I interrupt you for a minute?
Sure.
It sounds like you're telling us a lot of things about things that happened before you lost your license.
Right.
What the board needs to decide is whether you've made changes since you lost your license that would make it be safe for you to practice. So it's really important for you to focus on things that have happened since your license was
Absolutely.
revoked in 2014. So maybe you could focus on from 2014 up until the present.
2014, I still had clients. I was helping people, couples, families. And when I lost my license, what? I have never harmed a client, never. I never would harm a client. So in 2014, I was crushed. And I didn't even know I had lost my license until after it had happened, because I forgot to change my address. I moved from upstairs to a downstairs, working with a psychologist, and I didn't know until after it had happened. Or I would have been at the board meeting, but I didn't know. I didn't know. And so, like I say, I was crushed.
Oh, okay, maybe you could focus on why you think it would be safe for you to practice now.
Why would it be safe for me to practice? That's an unfathomable question to me. It has always, I have always been a safe therapist. So I can't even imagine what I would look like if I were unsafe. I don't know how else to answer that.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add about why you want to get your license back now?
I am 73 years young. I didn't get my license until 1992. It was the happiest day of my life. I remember getting the mail and getting a big envelope and opening it, and I waited until I was done seeing clients. And it said, "Congratulations." And I thought, oh my God, I passed. I was so excited. And I have always loved being a marriage and family therapist. I loved helping families. I've done multi-generation family therapy. I love my profession. I am proud of being a marriage and family therapist, MFT 30191. That's my number.
Does that mean you're done? You made a little motion to me.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like you're a jury. you're the judge, have an attorney general here, and it's like, this is what I pictured my orals to be. You know, but there were only 2 people in the room. But I'll never forget that day.
When you got your license? You're nodding, does that mean yes?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm wondering if it would be good to have Mr. Messer ask you some questions, because
Sure.
the Attorney
I'll
General,
answer any question.
they're usually really good at focusing in on things the board is interested in hearing about.
Okay.
Does that sound like a good idea to you?
That sounds like a great idea.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Messer, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Honor. Ms. Kelly, thank you so much for being here. Just a couple questions. So I want to first just kind of focus on the new psych eval. So when was, you said that was with a Dr. Jason Kanji. When was that done?
It was either October or November.
Of this past year?
Yes.
And what prompted that exam? Did someone tell you you needed to go to it, or did you do that on your own?
Well, I knew I wanted to petition. I had met with Dr. Kanji for several times, and I was depressed. He put me on antidepressants. Those didn't work. They gave me very bad diarrhea, so I stopped taking them.
Is Dr. Kanji still your mental health provider today?
No.
How long
Dr.
did he treat you?
Excuse me?
How long did he treat you? So you said you had seen him before the evaluation.
I would say about 3, 4, 5 times.
Okay. Why do you, is there a reason why you still don't see him now?
Well, he's a psychiatrist. He told me, you know, I work with Kaiser. He's not a Kaiser doctor. So he referred me to Kaiser. So I went and saw a psychiatrist there. And then he referred me to Dr. Goodman with Kaiser.
Is that who, are you currently seeing a mental health provider?
That would have been Dr. Goodman, and no, I no longer see him.
So you no longer are being seen by any mental health provider?
That's correct.
Now, you said that someone from the board told you that they would put the psych eval in your record. Do you remember who that was?
I know they said they saw the letter, they didn't know what it was about, and they just put it in my file.
Now, you've previously been before the board, and there was a decision entered on January 6, 2016 that denied your request
Correct.
for reinstatement. What's changed since then?
What has changed? You mean in regards to?
Well, so the decision in that case found that you had not submitted sufficient evidence to show that you you could safely practice as a therapist.
Right. Because
what has changed since then that would convince the board otherwise?
Well, the psych eval that they had was from 2012. So what changed, I've changed. You know, I'm not depressed. That was the main issue, was I didn't have a current psych eval.
So you say you're not depressed. Why is that? Are you on medication for
No.
depression?
I've learned, I meditate. I'm not an anxious person.
So the decision in your previous hearing, they cited an issue with a woman called Pat. And they made an express comment in the findings that said that you failed to appreciate the inappropriateness of your actions involving Pat and visiting her home. Have your opinions on that incident changed, or do you, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that was a long, long time ago. I mean, I have no contact with her. I don't even know where she lives.
What's your current situation? Do you have a home you live in?
I rent a room
Where?
in Camarillo.
And how long have you lived there?
I moved in November 25th.
And where did you live prior to that?
I lived with a friend. Before that, I had an apartment. That's when I lost my job, was Advantage Sales and Marketing, and I went to work for Lyft. And
Do you currently have a job?
no, I do not.
And do you live with anyone, or do you live on your own?
I rent a room
Do you?
in someone's home.
Do you have a support system in place? Do you have people that you can rely on?
Oh,
for day-to-day
absolutely.
things? Could you describe that to the board?
Well, I made new friends at church. I help out at church, serve community dinners.
So the board hasn't had an opportunity to
have-
see the, oh, go ahead.
I have friends that I've had since I was in kindergarten.
That you still keep in touch with?
Absolutely.
So the board hasn't had the benefit of seeing the letter that you presented to the judge, but it's a letter from your church.
Right.
And if you could briefly describe for the board what it states, and then a comment as to why that would be good evidence as to why your license should be reinstated.
And keep in mind, Ms. Kelly, they're going to get to see the letter before they make a decision. We'll make sure that the board members all see your letter, Exhibit 9. Sorry I interrupted you, Mr. Messer. You may need to repeat your question.
So why is your involvement with the church, has that helped in your ability to work as a therapist?
My ability to work.
Well, let me-
I'm
let's
a
look-
very spiritual person.
What do you do for the church?
I get there early, help make coffee, bring food, donate food to them. I'm involved in Bible study. I go to a meeting, that's every other week, and every Tuesday I'm there. We read books, we discuss them. I'm very involved in my church.
And what current sources of income do you have?
Social Security, that's it.
So what is the main motive? You kind of touched on this before, but the main motive for getting your license back is a financial one? You need to make money?
Yes, I mean, it really is. I would like to work for somebody else, like Kaiser. I mean, I'd like to work in a setting in which I am given clients and I can make an adequate living. Being on Social Security and relying on $1,257 a month, I mean, I pay rent of $850 a month. That doesn't leave me anything. And it's very hard, very hard.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
I remember my father telling me the first time I got a paycheck, I was 16. And I said, "What's this FICA?" He says, "Well, Eileen, that's for when you're 65. And I said, So I'm gonna get all this money back?
Okay, but now we're gonna see if the board has any questions of you,
Okay.
okay? All right, Ms. Pines, any questions?
Yes. You say you're not depressed now?
No.
You seem a little confused about things. I wondered if you feel like you're, because you're anxious here, or your mind is not clear?
I seem confused?
Yeah, a little slow to recall things, and
Hold on, I don't know if that's really a relevant question to ask here. I mean, it's certainly relevant for us to make observations, but I think it's more appropriate to ask her questions about what she's been doing to work on her rehabilitation. I don't want us to get into a therapy session with her. And I know you're all probably really good at that, but let's see if we can focus on questions about her rehabilitation.
okay. Have you ever been depressed before in your life, as a young girl or growing up, as an adult?
I was depressed in 2004, and then I got a dog. And my depression was gone. Other than that, no. Nope. Not an issue of mine. I watched my son go through depression. He's a vet. PTSD. You know, I recognize when I'm depressed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Colley, any questions?
No questions.
Ms. Wong?
No question.
Dr. Chu?
No question.
Ms. Connolly? Would you speak up a little bit?
No, thank you.
Ms. Locke Dawson?
No.
Chair Brown?
No.
Oh, I had a sheet on how to say your name.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Dr. Whitlesbach?
Yes, okay. No, thank you for coming in.
All
Oh,
right.
thank you.
Ms. Lahner?
No questions, thank you.
Dr. Brew?
No questions.
Ms. Ashley?
No questions.
And Mr. Despati?
Dispost. That's perfect. I go by Max too, it's fine. But thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All
I
right.
appreciate, I don't know how you do what you do, but you do a really good job. I have been to board meetings several times, and I really appreciate everything that the board members do. I mean, I was looking at your agenda for tomorrow, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you really do a very good service for the Department of Consumer Affairs.
Well, Ms. Kelly, now that you heard the questions that Mr. Messer had and that Ms. Pine had, is there anything else that you did not tell the board yet that you'd like to add at this time?
I can't think of a thing.
All right. Mr. Messer, did you have any more questions?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Did any of the board members have any more questions? I'm going to look for hands, and I see none. All right, well then, the hearing is concluded. The board is going to take your petition under submission and consider it in closed session. You will receive a written decision in the mail. And now let's go off the record. Okay, Ms. Kelly, you need to get a form from the court reporter in
Okay.
case you someday want to get a transcript. And then, is there someone from Department of Consumer Affairs that can make a copy of the protective order for her, or is it better if my office sends it?
Kim will take care of it.
Okay, and then Mr. Messer's gonna need a copy as well. What's confidential?
No, not the order. The order's there.
The order's not. Ms. Kelly, I think she'll be back in a minute with that form for you. Okay. Yeah, yeah. She had to get that before she goes to session.
Christina Kitmora, is there an opportunity to have the doors locked so that all of our confidential information will be protected? Okay, thank you.
We are going to the restroom. You didn't order to eat with the group?
But if you order food in advance, it's all waiting. In case that doesn't, that hopefully answers your question.
No, I know.
So then, we should probably make a copy of this.
You don't want any pastrami sandwich and fries?
I have the Asian salad too.
Yeah, me too.
It's not, look at it.
But it didn't say they had.
We haven't,
Somebody asked. Okay.
We're going to break. Yeah, she's still here, she's a public. No, I'm not.
Your agenda, you have to call for people.
Yeah,
You can adjourn that, and then suggestions, everything else.
Okay, are there any public comments that are not on the agenda? Okay. Suggestions for future agenda items? Okay. Then the board is going to adjourn to a break for lunch, and then when we come back, we will reconvene and then adjourn into closed session. It is 11:53.
When do you want to start? One?